of Banks have joined us to have a conversation about You Start. Okay, how they are helping in creating 1 million jobs for all of you over the next 3 years. This morning, we're joined by John Ewuah, who's CEO, Ghana Association of Banks, and Kenneth Amponsah, who is Head, Credit Risk Management, FBN Bank. Good morning, Ken, and good morning, John, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for having us.
I believe you're all doing well.
Sure.
Absolutely. Great. I'll get back to you shortly, but first, big stories on the Super Morning Show, brought to us by Vodafone, Further Together, and Latest Foam, your partner for life. So, are you still paying transfer charges whenever you send money? Charlie, in 2022, we are not doing that again. Transfer charges, dear, into a bit down. Switch to Vodafone Cash now, because sending money on Vodafone Cash to all networks is still absolutely free. Yes, you heard right. You can send any amount of money as many times as you want for free on Vodafone Cash. Only e-levy is applied. So don't give small money chance. Save more whenever you use Vodafone. Is the smartest move in these times. Now that's true value for money. Switch to Vodafone Cash today. Dial *110# and send money without extra charges. Vodafone, Further Together. But if you're looking for a 1-seater, 2-seater, 3-seaters, L-shaped sofa, crafted to the finest details and available in various colors for your home, office, or hotel, and if you're looking for comfort, durability, quality, and that perfect finishing, look no further, because Latest Foam is your one-stop shop, whatever your choice or budget. But the attention of the management of Latest Foam has been drawn to the fraudulent activities of some persons who dupe unsuspecting members of the public via social media. Now, Latest Foam wishes to state clearly that it does not do trading on social media, and whoever transacts business on Latest Foam products on social media does so at his or her own risk. The management therefore wishes to alert the public to such activities and advise them against payment for its products via social media. It further advises the public to visit showrooms of Latest Foam and accredited dealers across the country for its high-quality products. Latest Foam is your partner for business.
And Joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best ever on Joy 99.7 FM.
People getting high. Mama here, Baba there. The whole gang too. Everybody's dancing, celebrating all night long.
All right, so this is a Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM, and this morning, John Ewuah, CEO of Ghana Association of Banks, Kenneth Amponsah, Head, Credit Risk Management, FBN Bank, have joined us to tell us more about the You Start program and how the association is leading a team of banks under the commercial program of You Start. Once again, thank you very much for joining us. So let's go into the details now, because the information reaching us indicates that the commercial banks are involved in a way or the other in the government You Start program. Tell us the level of involvement of the banks, John.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm sure you may have heard in the news about the government working on a program they've labeled as You Start.
Yeah.
So sometime last year, the banks also came together and said, well, as the government is working on this, how can we be part of this solution to the problems that confront the country as we know at the moment, particularly youth unemployment. So we came together and said, how do we partner government and carve out a certain section of the You Start program that we can commercialize with very well crafted conditions that will make it easier for businesses to access a program under the You Start. And that is where, as community of banks, we came together from between October of last year all the way through working with state actors to come out with a product that will be unveiled shortly, and it will be known as the commercial model under the You Start program.
So you decided to help government do this. I'm interested in how you're going to do that. I mean, just give us a bit of information about that model that you have in support of the You Start program.
So, we as banks, we deal with the business community already. So we have a lot of information on businesses already. And we also know when people talk about access to credit, the fact that it's difficult. We also know some of the inhibitions that brings about that difficulty in accessing credit. So coming out with this program, we've looked at all the things that would make the flow from application from a business side to the bank all the way to disbursement. How do we make it shorter? How do we make it more affordable? How do we make the conditions less stringent? Not that it's loose, but less difficult for the customer to meet. So that is what we have packaged under the commercial model. So it's more or less a bank product with special features that makes accessibility easier for the business community.
Great. So, we'll come back to look at the processes that these businesses would have to go through. But how many banks, which banks are partnering government on this important program?
Okay. Well, thank you. So, so far we have more than 9 banks. We have GCB, we have CBG, we have FBN Bank, we have Fidelity Bank, we also have Access Bank, Absa Bank is also part of it, then ADB, then we have UBA Bank as well. So other banks which are all
Bank of Africa is also part
Bank
of it.
of Africa, participating financial institutions are on board now. But we also know that as time goes on, other banks that are interested will also come to support this particular venture.
So help us understand which businesses or companies would, qualify to participate in the commercial model of the YouStart program.
So it cuts across various sectors. I would say the only activity that the YouStart commercial model will not fund is businesses that are engaged in pure trading, buying and selling of finished products. They do not qualify. But if you are in any kind of business, light manufacturing, supplies, pharmaceuticals, hospital, you just have to go to the portal, apply, and within a matter of a short period of time, you get your disbursement and you can go on with and it's for existing businesses.
Okay.
So because what we are trying to do is to provide this ammunition of funding to existing businesses to enable them scale their operations. And when you scale your operations, what happens? You increase productivity. And who helps you to increase productivity? You need a lot more hands. And that is where the employment creation or job creation comes in.
So beyond the fact that you're an existing business, the fact that you're not just buying and selling, what other criteria must you meet?
All right. So there are 2 major criteria that are established. One, you should be an existing business with the prime mover between the ages of 18 to 40. That is one, because we are trying to promote youth entrepreneurship. Then the other bit has to do with those who are also existing businesses, but they are more than 40 years. What are we going to do for them? Then you should be able to establish that you have a working staff rate that is 50% between the ages of 18 to 40. So at the top level, those are the 2 major headlines we are looking at to fund. Then you can look at the subcategories as to whether you are an existing business in Ghana, Ghanaian-owned business. And if you are also 40 years and you have staff within 18 to 40, above 40 years, then what it means is that you should be able to establish that your SNET contributions and payment to these staff is there. Once you're able to establish that, you are ready to go. The other has to do with how many years have you been in business, because we are supporting existing businesses for start. So then between 6 to 12 months, after 12 months, if you qualify, we will give you. Then you also look at your business plan, your cash flows. You should be able to bring something on board that can justify why we should fund you. And there are priority areas, as Mr. Wa has mentioned, that we are looking at, so that we don't fund anything and everything, because it needs to be targeted to economic growth. It needs to be targeted to what the government seeks to do, so we don't become more import-driven in an attempt to fund existing businesses. So all these criteria exist to support this particular fund.
So in effect, it's not just you walking up to say, I have a business that's been in existence for 2 or 3 years, but there should be evidence that this business has been running for 2 or 3 years. And the evidence will be shown also in your financials. You know that this is a business that, when supported, can expand.
Yeah, but what we are not insisting on directly is, in a normal bank lending, we will say go and bring 3 years audited financials and all the others. In this particular program, since it's more or less cash flow lending, we are looking at what you are going to do, whether the project you want to embark on or what you are already working with fits, as Kent mentioned, fits into the priority areas that we've outlined. Once it fits in and you meet all the other requirements, we just fund you. And under these very concessionary terms that we believe is more affordable. It gives a lot of liquidity space for the businesses to maneuver and also turn around the funding to generate a lot more business.
So what processes have been laid out for the potential applicants to go through in order to get approved, apart from the ones you've told us?
I think it's very simple, and we want to make it as simple and seamless as possible. There's a website that we will launch very shortly, and once you go to the website, you go and you put in all the needed information in the website. We've built algorithms behind that does all the credit scoring based on the criteria that Ken has mentioned. You go through that. In fact, at that website, you have the option of selecting any bank, any of the anchor banks that you wish to work with. If any of them is already your bank, then hooray, that's good for you. Even if you have a bank, existing bank, which is part of the anchor banks, but you prefer to work with a different bank, you have the option of selecting that bank, because it's basically a vanilla product across the entire banks that are taking part in the product. Once you go through and do all these things, it comes to the bank, of course. We do our basic due diligence assessment, and within a matter of a short period of time, I want to keep it at that, funding is given.
So what's so special about the commercial model of the YouStart project?
Okay, so what is special about it is the fact that we are looking at promoting youth entrepreneurs. That is one. The other bit that is special about it is the fact that once you go through all these processes and you pass through the criteria, there's a concession rate around it for you. So then it helps you borrow, but then at a cheaper cost. And the cost of borrowing, we know, it's become an issue in the industry. So that's a special bit around it. And the fact that processes have been in place and implemented by all participating banks to make sure this is seamless, so that we avoid all the losses that is anticipated. Because the most serious aspect of it is people thinking that why do you want to fund the youth? Is the risk not high? We've agreed. We've dimensioned the risk. We've agreed to go into that space to help government. We've agreed to grow with the businesses. So if that is the case, and you rightly heard this morning, data suggests that private sector lending has increased by the banks. We are going ahead to do this, so that we can partner with all these entrepreneurs and make it better. Okay. So that is why it makes it special. This is the time, and we're ready to get that done.
Well, we're talking about the rate. You said, yes, we know the challenges with the rate currently, but this is a concessionary one. I'm curious, what's the rate?
The rate we are toying with at the moment is 10% on CD. So that tells
10%.
you that it's extremely concessionary.
That
is what we are toying with now. I'm sure we'll fine tune, but it will be anywhere around that rate.
Oh yeah, if you compare that to our current rate of about 20.
Yeah, about 24, 25.
25%. If you're giving 10%, then that's affordable.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So
Okay.
those are some of the specialties around this particular project. And also, just to add to what Ken said, the fact that as community of banks, a government program, and we have said we want to help with nation building. We don't want to sit aloof and also be part of people complaining. How do we as banks also contribute to the solution? And this is our share or portion of how we want to collaborate with government in order to be part of the solution.
Okay. Now, so when should businesses expect this model, that's a commercial model of YouStart to start?
So we are in the very final stages of our preparation. I told you about the site and all the credit scoring algorithms that we have built. That engine is being tested. So we want, by the time we are ready and we go out announcing, that same day people can go to the site and apply and get their funding. So we are looking at anywhere around, latter part of this month or early part of July for it to, come into fruition.
And do you have a fixed amount that you're dedicating towards this project?
Yes. Fixed amount for start, we are looking at up to 5 billion. Yes, but then for each applicant, your application is entitles you to between 100 to 500,000, depending on whether you are looking at working capital funding or capital expenditure. So based on your need assessment and your funding requirement, then once you go through the processes, we will allocate the funds for you. But before you get the funding, we've also partnered with training institutes like the Ghana Banking College and Chartered Institute of Bankers and other training institutions to make sure that the applicants are trained as to how, because we want to promote a disciplined entrepreneurship. It's not just come to take the money and go to sleep. The only good loan is the one that has been paid back. So for you to pay back, you need to be disciplined, you need to be trained. And because it's coming as a concession rate, we don't want to take chances. So training is key. You'll be trained, you go through a process, and it's mandatory that this is done. Once it gets through, we'll give you the funding for a period of up to 3 years. Between 1 year to 3 years, that's the tenure for you to have that access to the funds.
Wow, between 1 to 3 years. Not bad, not bad. Well, John Ewuah and Kenneth Amponsah, thank you very much for joining us. Anything you want to say finally, John Ewuah?
Yeah, thank you very much. We invite the business community to really take advantage of this opportunity. It is one in a lifetime that you have access to this kind of funding at this concessionary rate. If for nothing at all, the training that we will give you in addition to the funding should go a long way to help you in managing your enterprise, to create wealth, and also to build capacity, internal capacity, and also to help with job creation. That is the pivot of this program, to help in creating jobs. So as you are coming for the funding and you are building capacity, make sure you are also picking some of our young ladies and young men into your fold and helping them to also earn a living and contribute to nation building.
Finally, Kenneth?
All right, so to add to what Mr. Was mentioned, as community of banks, we are ready to make this work. We are ready to support the government in this initiative. But we are also doing that so that because the fund is revolving, once it goes, it can come back. So all the training is needed, all the monitoring the banks are capable of doing, we are ready to get that done, and surely we'll get success out of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kenneth Amponsah, who is head of credit risk management of FBN Bank, and John Ewuah, who is CEO of the Ghana Association of Banks. So you know what to do once the website is ready. Get there, and you could access up to 500,000 to expand your business. This is the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. Want to return after these messages. Our focus will be on the attack of the Catholic Church in Nigeria, where some gunmen shot and killed about 50 people yesterday. Stay with us. We'll be right back.